Hey guys, so I did a video recently asking you guys whether I should do a top 10 best movies of the decade. Um, and Alex, aka Inside Out Fan 2001, said that he would very much like me to do that. So I will. I am very excited to do it. But I'm actually going to do it similar to how Inside Out Fan 2001 did it. He kind of broke it down to separate years. So at the end, it will amount to a top 10 best and worst of the decade. But here's what I'm going to do. Top fives first. I'm going to separate, because there are only a handful of movies that were truly bad in like each year. So it's going to be five. That'll be easier. And believe me, 2010 had its worst offer. So let's start with the top five worst movies of 2010. Here we go. If you disagree or agree, that's totally fine. Opinions. Now, The Rock is quite the actor these days. But back when Tooth Fairy came out, oh boy. I knew from the very first trailer that I saw in theaters, this movie was going to suck. I just knew. Dwayne Johnson looks bored throughout the entire runtime, like, what am I doing here? Why aren't I doing a better movie? Do I really have to act out these lines? They could have made it really interesting along the lines of Santa Claus and Rise of the Guardians, but no, it's boring. The only actress that's giving her all is Julie Andrews. She was entertaining as the Grand Fairy. Everybody else, no. This is high on the list because it is the least offensive. The wings that the Tooth Fairies have look so fake. I don't recommend Tooth Fairy. I recommend you just watch the Santa Claus trilogy. Except for the third one. Anyway, on to number 4.
The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Now I love the first Narnia movie. But I love it just like Lord of the Rings because it's Christian roots. And as you guys know, I'm a Christian. While it does have the roots of the first one, this one is a boring and very predictable movie. Why does so much of the movie take place on this ship? I know it's in the book, but it is just so boring. It lacks the epic scale of the first. Haven't seen the second one. I can never get through the first few minutes of it. Recently, Alex just reviewed The Dawn Treader, and his review was kind of confusing, kind of like Black Critic Guy's Sherlock Gnomes review. Sorry, but it was kind of confusing. Would have preferred an actual review. Voyage of the Dawn Treader is the worst out of the three. I can tell the second one is going to be better, but John Campea, I totally agree with John Campea. Out of the three movies, this one is the worst. It is terrible. It was disappointing. I can never get past, I could never watch the entire movie. When it gets to the middle, I just exit out of the room because I just can't take any more of this boredom. When a movie is boring, it fails. You have a bored audience if you have a boring movie. There's no fun, there's no charm, it's just war, it's just depressing. It's possibly why people despise the second film. Because it didn't have any fun, it didn't have any charm. And the best part of these films, you get to see the fun, charming land of Narnia. But no, it's boring. It doesn't make sense. It's tedious, it takes too long. And when it gets to the more exciting parts, you've lost interest. You don't care anymore. This is a boring journey. I highly recommend you just stick with the first film, because that is really the only one worth seeing. And the only one that did amazingly at the box office. And rightfully so, because the last two movies were subpar in comparison. Again, Narnia 3 is the weakest. If you must see another Narnia movie besides the first, then watch the second film. I haven't seen it, but it looks way more interesting and better than the third film. Alright, on to number 3. Now look, I'm a fan of the hit TV show. Me and my sister watched it constantly. We didn't watch it on Nickelodeon. We watched it when we got it from the library. This movie lacks the fun and lighthearted tone that the show has. Sure, it was taking place in a disastrous time when there was a war going on, but at least they still found a way to be fun and lighthearted. That was part of the charm of the original show. These characters were likable. Sokka, Katara, and Aang. People loved to go on adventures with them. I saw the TV show after I saw the movie in theaters, and I was like, why wasn't this in the movie? And then I realized that the movie was actually directed by one of the darkest directors in Hollywood, M. Night Shyamalan, that directed The Sixth Sense, The Village, and Signs. So no wonder it was all dark. It's like a DCU movie. There's just so much in this movie that doesn't work. Like, for instance, the fact they tried to push the entire first season in a 90-minute long movie, it just simply doesn't work. It's supposed to be a movie. They take all the fun away. They took away all the important elements. They took away important plot points. They took away things that help the story make sense and strengthen the story. And they just left all the dark moments. They even put in unnecessary moments. It's like they were trying to make this film fail. It's like they didn't put any effort in it. It's like M. Night Shyamalan never watched a single episode of the original show. And what we got was a boring, tedious, abysmal, forgettable mess of a movie. This is possibly one of the worst cartoon adaptations I have ever seen. The CGI, it's actually okay. For a 2010 movie, the CG actually looks good. The water bending is the best scene. Those are the best parts of the whole entire movie. But if you've seen Chris Stuckman's review, and if you've seen like pretty much every review on YouTube about this movie, they're nothing but negative. And especially fans of the original show get angry at this movie. It doesn't work as a movie, and it certainly doesn't work as an adaptation to one of the best cartoons of all time. Yes, I consider Avatar: The Last Airbender one of the greatest cartoons alongside Futurama, The Simpsons, and SpongeBob. I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's one of my favorite shows. I recommend you watch the show, but stay away from this movie. It is boring. It's no fun. It's dry. All the characters are uninteresting. The story is a mess. It's just an awful movie all the way around. One positive, the 3D effects. But it's not worth it even for that. It's a good thing M. Night Shyamalan went on to direct his style of movies again. He was not the perfect fit for a fun, lighthearted show like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Seriously, that was a dumb choice, getting M. Night Shyamalan to direct a movie based on a lighthearted, fun cartoon. That was a really dumb move. If you wanted somebody to direct it, you should have gotten like Taika Waititi or Ryan Coogler or the Russo brothers. They could do epic and they could do fun, lighthearted, and funny. They could have. But you made a bad choice and you have paid for it. So, anyway, on to number 2. Now, I just did a rant on Iron Man 2, and pretty much said all that needed to be said. I'm just going to say, this is a forgettable MCU movie. I don't know why I liked it. It's a huge step down from the first movie. Justin Hammer is a terrible antagonist. Will Plash, so forgettable. He only has a couple scenes in the entire movie. He doesn't have any reason to hate Tony. Howard, he has every right to hate. But he doesn't have any right to hate Tony. The motivations didn't make sense. Sam Rockwell's dance moves don't even make this film worth it. The suits, they look good. But the main problem with this movie, it's trying to set up the Avengers. So much so it forgets to be a good movie. It has the same problems as Fantastic Amazing Spider-Man 2 and every other film that tries to set up another movie, that sets up another movie, that sets up another movie. Like Chris Stuckman said in his Fantastic review. Highly recommend you go check it out. Tony acts like a jerk in this movie. He gets drunk. He doesn't pay attention to Pepper or Rhodey. Also another positive, perfect choice for Rhodey. Don Cheadle, way better than Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard just wasn't right for Rhodey. You know what I mean? Iron Man 2 is a disappointing sequel. Iron Man 3 was even worse. It's a good thing there wasn't an Iron Man 4. So, Iron Man 2 is a waste of time. Don't watch it. Just watch the original Iron Man. Or watch Ant-Man. Watch any other Marvel movie. Anyway, on to the next one. This is the worst movie of that year by far. None can compete. And let's get into it. This is the worst of 2010, by far. Who asked for a Tron sequel? Seriously. Who the fridge asked for a Tron sequel? The first film came out in the 80s. Now, there are some positives to this film. Like, for instance, the visuals. Big step up from the original. And if you've seen the original, you know what I'm talking about. They look very futuristic and very sci-fi. They're easy on the eyes, they're easy to look at. And they look very cool in 3D. So, that is one thing I'll give this sequel. The visuals look absolutely stunning. But guys, I'm afraid that's where the positives end. The negatives, they are endless. There's an endless sea of negatives for this movie. It's boring. Oh my gosh. It is the most boring movie I've ever seen in my entire life. The visuals, even they get old after a while. There's just no life in this movie. It's a robot. It's a robot movie. Tron Legacy is an atrocity. Don't watch this. Don't waste your life. I could never finish this. After the bike race, I was out of it. I was done. This is the most boring movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And I easily consider it the #1 worst movie of 2010. It's boring. It's lifeless. You'll gain nothing from it. It's a bad movie with beautiful visuals. But even the visuals get old. Your eyes start to hurt looking at the bright lights, the bright blues, the bright reds. If you must see a Tron movie, then just stick with the original Tron or watch the TV series, but don't. This movie was painful to sit through, boring, can never finish it. I'll see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed the top 10 worst movies of 2010. Stay tuned for the top 10 best movies of 2010 coming tomorrow. See you later.